Yeah, that's right. Okay, so now see how, like, to try to avoid that if at all possible. You know what I mean? I did that to, to let you know, don't do shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, but like, that's what happened. Okay, so. But I will say this. One thing that's also cool is that you can see what my like oral hygiene habits are. Okay, in contrast to like when they're not. And I haven't lost any teeth, and I don't have any cavities. Like so I doing the best I can. You know what I mean? Even if you miss some days or whatever, odds are you'll be okay if you're very good. You're generally pretty good. So, but people's, it varies. You know what? It depends on the pHs. As far as I understand, what the pH is in your mouth, a lot of the time can affect. If your mouth is drier, like for example, you can form more cavities. If you breathe through your mouth, that's not good because you need to have the saliva on the teeth to do its thing. So yeah. All right, here we go. I think I would be able to say it a little bit more intelligently than that if I wasn't so tired right now. But I'm just leaving it as yeah, you need to have the saliva because they do what it needs to do. So there you go. A mouth breather, by the way, also is another term, an old term for a hick. Like someone that keeps their mouth up. It's like, I can't remember where I last heard that too. It's funny, Oh man. I've had days where for whatever reason, because like your brain causes you to do all these things. Like I've had days where I haven't had a cold, but sometimes like I've been on a drug or something like that, where my mouth was agape always a little bit like that day. Like, you know what I mean? Like where it normally wouldn't be. And it's amazing how it's amazing to have that experience. Because there are some people that normally they keep their mouth agape a little bit, right? To be in that headspace where your brain does that automatically as if it's normal that day, you're kind of like, wow, that's really strange, And you kind of feel the way those people look, when they're doing it, because if you're doing it, you're like, it's almost like everything is a little bit amazing to you or something like that, almost like. And it's, so yeah, that's kind of why, I guess, or kind of like, yeah, I don't know. Where we go? Having a quickie earlier. No, just kidding. Yeah. 2 minutes, that's all you got. You gotta go. That angle was just right. Little red brushing hood. Light of Christ. All right. That would be good. I'm having a good day today. All right. I haven't not brushed this much since Holy Week. Very strange. The Lord keeps me so fucking busy with comedy. It's always seemed like I still sometimes feel weird talking about, my interaction with the Lord, because it sounds strange to people that don't have that. It makes me kind of sad, you know what I mean? I have moments of time like looking at myself on the camera where I'm like looking at me like somebody might be looking at me, you know what I mean? And I'm kind of like, oh God, they're not really getting this. It's not translating. But anyway, but no, I mean, okay, like it's no different than any other Christian that is in communion with God, right? We all have we all interact and converse. What I was trying to say, converse. Some more, some of it is more tangible, or has more of a tactical. It always has tactical, doesn't it? is the word? Oh my God. You don't want me to talk about it. I'm not going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take the easy route out. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to fight it. Then fine. I would tell you, but somebody doesn't want me to. So I'll have to wait. Always get the teeth just before I go in. I make sure they're all standing at attention instead of parade rest, because if you have the teeth, you know, at parade rest when you go in, sometimes it's harder to get the floss in between because you know what I mean, because of their arm, you know, they're akimbo kind of, and you don't want your teeth like that. Plus, you know what I mean, it's like I want them at attention. When I come in here and I put the floss in, they're my teeth, you know what I mean? They should be like excited to see me. And parade rest isn't too bad too, but it's kind of like, let's do it right, you know what I mean? All right. Oh my God, look at the polish on those boots too. Great. All right. That's kind of like the home military, like commander version of like my home priest ministry. You know what I mean? You know, I have a congregation. I would start like, oh, they name my teeth and call the members of the congregation and stuff. Yeah. Commanding officer of my teeth. It's always a problem though, because on Sundays I gotta take 28 communion wafers. You know, one for each member. Just imagine going to like church and just like trying to get like, you know, like they give you, and you're like, maybe 27 more. like you're going to like Smart and Final, like to buy a wholesale or something like that. Like, for, you know what I mean? Which of course they wouldn't give you that, but like it would still be funny to ask, like naturally as hell. You know what I mean? You got an event going on, you know, just especially at a church you hadn't been to before, like that. You know, the nice thing about ridiculous humor, even like humor that is like so over the top that, you know, some humor is more like intelligent humor. You know what I mean? It kind of like adheres more closely to like reality and church doctrine and stuff like that, and so it's more cerebral. And sometimes it's easier for people to appreciate that humor because they're like, it's intellectual, you know what I mean? Like if you got to go to a seminary to get it, for example, like then that's you know, that's the good kind, right? But like, and I have to admit, I love those seminary, you have to go to seminary jokes to get it too, because even though I haven't been, I've been around people that, you know, that share those jokes and to talk about this stuff enough to where I've learned, like, where I you know, if I don't get it, at some part of it, I can go find out how to, you know what I mean? Even without a person, even online, right? So, yeah, I think I love it as the jokes too because they gratify the ego, you know what I mean? And you're, you know, you just kind of, it's like an inside joke sort of a thing, and that's great. But other jokes that are more profane, okay, do challenge doctrine, theology, and stuff like that. Sometimes in a much more interesting way. Not directly, because sometimes the person making the joke may be an atheist and not get it. But if you do, you're looking at that, and you can see like several different, you know, it can say several different things. You know what I mean? And you can take it as seriously or as lightly as you want. You can take it at face value. But since you are in the church, you're probably going to have a tendency to look at it more deeply. And that is where some of the interesting stuff comes from. Hold on a moment. For example, the episode of South Park, one of my favorites of all time, Red Hot Catholic Love, which dealt with the clergy abuse scandal, you know, at the time. That was very, very big. What a pro-Catholic church movie, or show that was. Like, I mean, they wouldn't think so. Of course not. You know what I mean? But I'm going to tell you right now, the hero of the show is the South Park Town Catholic priest. He, what is it? You know, there's stuff that goes on, right? You know, and I can't remember what it was, but he's like, I got to go to the Vatican and get help. So he goes to the Vatican, and then there's all these, like, you know, he goes in for a clergy conference at the Vatican, and he's having problems in his parish where, like, you know, the town residents are not, they're kind of shying away from the Catholic Church. Like, in his town, attendance is down, right? and the parents who used to have, used to like let their kids be around him, are suddenly now suspicious of him or whatever. And he's not doing anything, and he's kind of like, we're losing people, like what's. And of course, I mean, I was gonna say maybe he wouldn't. I mean, if it was early on, that's before the stuff was on the news, you might not know if you weren't doing that. I don't know. I'm not sure, but anyway, but it's still a TV show, so it's not going to be, you know what I mean? Especially like some of the stuff in it is definitely not supposed to be real because like there's no great queen spider at the Vatican that's supposed to be God, okay? But like, so they're in a clergy conference. And they all start talking about their woes, about like, my parish, da-da-da-da. And so he's like, okay, well, I'm in the right place here. We're all going to get help. And then somebody says, like, I forget what the first comment was, but it was something like, somebody says, like, yeah, if the parish drops, like, if attendance drops anything more, we'll never be able to make love to young boys again. And like Father Maxie's like, well, what? And then all these other priests start chiming in. They're like, oh yeah, my boys, like my altar boys do. And he's just like, oh my God, like, are all of you guys having like inappropriate relations with your altar boys? And they're like, something like, well, if we don't do that, where are we supposed to get our sex from? And he's like, well, maybe, and he said, okay, there's also this thing called the Holy Document of Vatican Law, that's what they're calling simplifying it to. I forget right now, I'm not remembering what it's called, but basically like canon law. Which has to do with like ecclesiastical law and stuff like that, like the conduct of everything. Let's put it. I don't know right now specific, but that's what all that stuff is. What priests can do and what the churches can do and all that stuff. It's a type of law called canon law, and so they said, well, that it's even in the canon. With terrible joke, but like this whole thing with having sex with altar boys is like it's in the canon law. Now, what they're trying to say there is that it is so ubiquitous, and it's, what I mean? It's so widespread. You know what I mean? Like, for someone on the outside of the church, you know what I mean? They know it's not, but they're just trying to make a statement with that. And Father Max is like, well, maybe we can change the Holy Document of Vatican Law to say that it's okay to have sex with women. And they're all like, oh, no, and they're like. And so he's like really upset by this. He's like, we gotta pray to God, And they're like, no, we just asked the Queen Spider or something like that. And he's like, Queen Spider? Who's that? And then this like weird Queen Spider thing comes out, and like he's like, this is insane. Like I get to talk to the Pope directly. You know what I mean? Like and all this kind of stuff. And anyway, so at the end. It's like he's going through this video game thing, like you're trying to get to the Pope and fight all these things like Indiana Jones on the way, even though he's at St. Peter's, and he saves the church at the end. Really, like you gotta, it's kind of like, and the parents of South Park who were like, overreacting, like a lot of people, you know what I mean? Closely mimicking the reactions of real families affected by the clergy abuse, case, saying like, you know what, do we want to just like like storm in there and lynch him or like whatever, or like maybe we should just kill God, you know what I mean? Like, well, yeah, I'm done with God. That's it, you know what I mean? All this kind of stuff. And in the end, they realize like that he's a good priest. I mean, tell me this movie's anti-Catholic with the way this is going here. It's not. No fucking way is it anti-Catholic. Like, this is like, those guys are, I think, are atheists, and what the moral of the story is that there is good in Catholicism, and the good will prevail, but you've got to get this problem like dealt with. I don't think that that's anti-Catholic. If it wanted to be anti-Catholic, Father Maxey, who is like the South Park, Catholic Church priest, would have been like one of the child. You know what I mean? Like that would have been it. You know what I mean? He was, and I was like really, really impressed by that. Plus, I'm also a very, you know what I mean? My faith is like, yeah. As a person of faith, I watched it and I thought I was inspired by it. I thought, wow. Even though they're not religious, they understand the complexities enough of the situation, because it's true whether it's a church or not or whatever. It's the same kind of a thing, It's like if you had child molesting teachers, what are you gonna do? Like just like cancel school, the whole thing sucks. Like just forget it. You know what I mean? Like no, they, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to realize you don't do that. And so, and there was some funny friggin', just skits within the episode. Like in the beginning, very, very beginning, when they're all in church and Father Maxey is doing the announcements, and he's talking about, what he's planning to do, and upcoming they have like, he's like, and then, this coming week, we're going to have a trip out on a boat with the kids in the Sunday school class, the boat trip to discuss Jesus as the navigator of their lives, or something like that, And Stan is like, a Catholic boat trip? And he starts to daydream, and all of a sudden you see this, like, the Love Boat theme, like Catholic, it's called the Catholic boat. And you see, basically, it's all Catholic priests and like young boys or whatever like that. And he has this like vision in there with the Catholic boat. And at the end of it, he's like, he's like starts screaming in church for no reason. And it cuts back to the church, and everyone's like notices him screaming. And he's like, you know what I mean? Like he said this whole thing of like, oh my God, my kids are gonna go on this boat trip, and it's gonna be like the Catholic Love Boat or something like that. And it's like, that is funny shit, dude. Like, seriously, that is awesome. And so, you know what, though? I mean, it's like, good stuff comes out of that, though. You know what I mean? I gotta tell you this. And I've mentioned this before, I'm glad that they have policies in place that they have now in churches like that. Because honestly, with all that suspicion there, you don't. I still feel strange that like gay male clergy, even like some people might suspect, like I do tend to like younger guys, but not like that young. But like I'm 43, and like even 25-year-old, and people might go, well, if you're gonna do that, like how do I know? So honestly, I don't want to be in a situation where I'm going to have people like worried about that. Seriously. So I would rather have like, you know what I mean? Now it's like 2 adults at least in a room or whatever, that kind of thing. I mean, honestly, that one, hasn't anyone thought like, hope it's the 2 right adults? You know what I mean? Like, 'cause seriously, I'm sure that could happen. You know what I mean? Like, but probably mixed gender would probably be the best, I bet you. Like really there, you know what I mean? Of course, there's all kinds of human. That would be some case on TV, Jesus. But like, but really, you know what I mean? Like that relieves any kind of stress that I mean. I remember growing up with my teacher, Wynn Johnson, and we would meet in the church on Sunday mornings, like for piano lessons and all kinds of stuff, all the time alone, like no problem. I mean, it was a men and boys choir, and he was, sorry for the way this sounds, Wynn, he's dead now, but I don't mean it like that, but he would meet with all the boys, you know what I mean, alone a lot of times. And like, I mean, I know that sounds, But like, you know, this was, and when that clergy abuse shit started happening, you know, it's sometime after that, like, would you want to do that anymore? Like, no, because people would be like that, suspicious, right? You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't want to, you know, be under that, especially if you were a gay man. I feel like, you know what I mean? All the more, it's like, you know, so there you go. All right. These things that make fun of our faiths, they're some of the most, look, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like you got the light here, right? And you get to like look at it from like this, and get up on a thing and like look down at it, and then like look over here, and look over it. And you won't be able to do that about aspects of the church with the discussion that you have in a Bible study group all the time. As good as it is, if you only do it there, because there's, you know what I mean? I don't care where you go in mainline Protestant church, you're not going to tell that story about the Red Hot Catholic and have people cracking up, because they don't feel comfortable doing that. In any church, you're just not going to find it. You're not going to find it. They might, some of them might, you know, depending on how paranoid they were about the thought, you know what I mean? But, you know, I'm on the same page that they are with that, as far as like, I feel the same way, you know what I mean? I feel absolutely the same way with regard to like, that it needs to be addressed and the chaperoning and stuff like that, make sure it doesn't happen, but I'm laughing my ass off at that, and I have the deepest like amount of sympathy like for, you know, both, not only abused victims of clergy, but for abusive clergy themselves. You know, I mean, I can't imagine. A lot of people don't want to look at it, and I understand, because some of these priests were, you know, pretty predatory. But both of them, it's sad that, you know what I mean? When you're trapped in that headspace, that mental, you know, when that's your life, and I didn't find in any way. In fact, I can only say that watching that and appreciating that episode and that comedy, and wrestling with that more, trying to gain more perspective, only increased my appreciation for the severity of the problem and what we need to do about it. So don't be afraid of that, you know. But don't hate your church either, because they won't laugh at it. Sometimes some churches, you know, for years, I got to tell you right now, I mean, there are a lot of things in my church that I still haven't done in my church. You know what I mean? That they may know about now, that I do it on video and stuff like that, but I wouldn't bring it in there. But don't be afraid to do it. Know that sometimes you got to do stuff on your own. You know. So, you know, we're all partners. We're all brothers and sisters in the body of Christ. Really, I do mean that, and I also mean not just those that are Christian, but the body of Christ refers to even people that are not in the same faith. I mean, it's all church. Catholic Church would say no. A lot of churches would say no. But, well, hopefully, if you don't understand why I feel that they are wrong about that, or at least only have half the story, hopefully that you do in time, no matter what your journey of faith is. Because you should see that whatever your religion is, as you grow in faith and grow in closeness, that we're all connected on the planet. You know what I mean? We're all one. We're all part of the same creator. So we have to, if that's true, then we all have to be in the body of Christ, or like, you know, or whatever, you know. I am not comparative religion. I don't, you know, I don't clueless about other religions. So I really am. I don't know. But I'm sure they have a name in other religions that would be like their body of Christ, and that they call me, and I'm part of that, and I would agree. You know what I mean? That's true. So, all right, everybody. Remember to brush your teeth, to floss, and to say your prayers. And I'll see you in the next video. I love you all. 41 minutes brushing my teeth and getting all theological. Whoop! Good night.